Greetings and shalom. The thought that came to mind recently was something that I think is done a lot, and that's to be saying someone is like sorry when they're not. I mean, when they have no reason in that moment for whatever someone did to someone or didn't do, rather, and yet someone like says sorry, and then there's this war that happens between two people of whoever can stick something on the other and walk away. That is, whoever can stick something that shouldn't be on someone else and walk away. Like a war of who is the most sorry, who is the most righteous in that moment through being the most sorry when neither or one of them should be sorry because they didn't do anything. So when man is needing to be sorry, he's not. And when he's not needing to be sorry in that moment, he is. Now that looks really good to be sorry when you shouldn't be. Make someone look humble, make someone look good, makes their image shine. For an image to look nice, to look good, to look righteous. Is that good? No, it's not good. It's a lie. It's a deception. That wouldn't be called a deception by people, but it's a lie and it's a deception. And then there's this war that I've seen that happens all the time. And that is that back and forth of like, no, it's okay. And the other one's like, no, but I'm sorry. No, it's okay. And there's this war. There's this enmity. Because if someone is sorry, the other person is like fighting against it and now doesn't want to accept it. They can't accept when someone's sorry. And when they should be sorry, they're not. And when they shouldn't be, they are. And that's what came to mind, is just so corrupt, so backwards and false. It's so easy to do that. Now, if someone's watching out for this specific thing, they'll see it and maybe catch ourselves doing it or ready to do that. But to see and examine the situation, spiritual discernment, to see whether there needs to be a sorry for something at that time and see how often there doesn't need to be, but someone is anyways. Why? Why would someone be sorry is the question if they don't need to be for in that moment. Because they didn't do anything according to whatever's floating around that someone's saying or whatever. It goes back to the image. It goes back to making self look righteous and look good and look humble and sincere and look like all of these things. But the actual work of this is the actual heart is none of those things that it makes it look like, because it's a lie. And anyone that's lying, that's an evil work. That's a sin. You shall not lie. That includes not being sorry for when we don't need to be. That's do not lie, do not deceive. Lying and deception are one. Someone lies, I mean, their intention is obviously to deceive also. So that is not good. That is breaking his spiritual law. That is doing sin within the heart. It doesn't matter what it looks like to people. People will say it's nothing, that it doesn't matter. Of course, what matters doesn't matter. It's thrown by the wayside in a dump somewhere. And the things that don't matter are lifted up and praised. I think we even read it in Psalm here somewhere. But we have, let's see what's in chapter 12. Help, Jehovah. The godly man ceases, for the faithful disappear among the sons of men. They speak idly, everyone with his neighbor, with flattering lips. That's part of it. That's definitely helping to bring something to it with the fake sorry. It's flattering. Anything that's flattering with the intention to flatter is already some kind of sin, and it is exactly what we read. And a double heart, or to be double-minded. With the double heart they speak, which is a contradiction. It's acting like it can have two things that contradict and have them both at the same time. It's not possible. That's called lukewarm. That's the most gross thing to Messiah, as he vomits out the lukewarm. That is the impossibility. That is all pride. Is trying to have two sides of something that contradict each other. That way it can float back and forth to the left or right whenever it conveniently needs to, so as not to be caught doing any evil. It thinks it can do that. May Jehovah cut off all flattering lips. Well, here is something to discern. No matter what someone is doing, no matter what they're speaking about, and no matter what someone is speaking about his word to others, whoever it is, no matter what it's about, no matter what they're reading from or speaking of out of his word, is it flattering? Is the discernment for the work of flattering lips being seen as done as a work from the heart, the intention of why someone is doing and saying what they're saying? Is it flattering lips? Because we read, may Jehovah cut off all flattering lips. When is it good? Never. If it's flattering, it's already a lie and a sin. It doesn't even matter if the literal words are not a lie in that moment. It's already a sin and a lie, even if it's not a literal lie that someone just said. Even if they're quoting his word literally or something, but they spoke those words and said something about it for the intention to flatter people with flattering lips, then it's already a sin and a lie, and the heart is corrupt for why it's doing what it's doing. Who have said with our tongue, we will prevail. Our lips are our own. Who is master over us? Well, no one. This is man talking about himself in his own heart. This is his works that he does here. For the oppression of the poor, for the sighing of the needy, now I will arise, says Jehovah. I will set him in the safety for which he yearns. The words of Jehovah are pure words, like silver tried in a furnace of earth, purified 7 times. You shall keep them. O Jehovah, you shall preserve them from this generation forever. Wicked prowl on every side when vileness is exalted among the sons of men. So when vileness is exalted, there's people prowling on every side. They're there. 13. How long, O Jehovah, will you forget me forever? How long will you hide your face from me? How long shall I take counsel in my soul, having sorrow in my heart daily? Well, this must be for sinners. This must be for bad people and unbelievers, these things. How could this be speaking of a believer? No, this can't happen to a believer. This never happens to believers. Says the enemy. How long will my enemy be exalted over me? Consider and hear me, O Jehovah, my Elohim. Enlighten my eyes, lest I sleep the sleep of death. Lest my enemy say, I have prevailed against him. When does he say this, and how? He says it secretly in his own heart's works. He doesn't have to even say these literal words to be doing this work right here. It's a work in the heart. Someone could be saying these words to themselves, but they don't have to be saying these literal words to be doing these words for what they mean. Lest those who trouble me rejoice when I am moved. We read not to rejoice for someone's destruction. Well, the wicked rejoice for someone's hurt, destruction, or if they think someone's falling or in trouble, they rejoice. But I have trusted in your mercy. My heart shall rejoice in your salvation. I will sing to Jehovah because he has dealt bountifully with me. And then 14 is actually one where, well, here to the chief musician, Song of David, the fool has said in his heart, there is no Elohim. And that's the key, in his heart. The fool has said in his heart, there is no Elohim. Not this only. fool has said there is no Elohim, although that wouldn't be a lie, but this is bringing out something. It's not saying the words out loud or proclaiming to be an atheist. It's anyone who does this in their heart, that there is no Elohim. They are corrupt. They have done abominable works. There is none who does good. Now, this is a little bit in Psalm here, 14:1, where we read, there's none who does good. And then Jehovah looks down from heaven upon the children of men to see if there are any who understand, who seek Elohim. Verse 3, where we read in Romans those verses where the apostle has a bunch of verses from different places in Scripture all put together. But here is a little bit of it, 14:3. They have all turned aside. They have together become corrupt. There is none who does good. No, not one. Now, verse 4, have all the workers of iniquity no knowledge, who eat up my people as they eat bread and do not call on Jehovah? For they are in great fear, for Elohim is with the generation of righteous. You shame the counsel of the poor, but Jehovah is his refuge. Oh, that the salvation of Israel would come out of Zion, for when Jehovah brings back the captivity of his people, let Jacob rejoice and Israel be glad. And Israel is his people today, and Jacob, which is Israel, all of them are those that believe today, that believe in the true Messiah and the true Creator. That's who Israel is. There is no other Israel. Father destroyed it. It never truly was the true Israel, but nevertheless, the natural thing faded away, and he destroyed that nation because it never was truly of him, only as a type and a shadow. The spiritual Israel, the second, those in Messiah are the true Israel. There is no other Israel. It has nothing to do with blood and color and race. The only Israel that stands today that is Israel are those that truly believe in the true Messiah, regardless of their race, their color, their blood type, regardless. It doesn't have any effect or sway, because the flesh profits nothing, like Messiah said. It profits nothing. The flesh cannot determine or profit something by itself. It doesn't prove anything by itself. So that first Israel was destroyed and they utterly got wiped out in 70 AD by the Creator's judgment in hand. How much more proof does someone need that he's against that? But that's not the good. That's not it. But the true Israel is anyone who believes in Messiah, to do the Father's will, to make and not follow their own way, but to follow Messiah. And this way is to do the Father's will as Messiah did the Father's will. He did his Elohim's will, his Father's will, his Creator's will. And that's an abomination to people to even say these words, that Messiah did his Creator's will, his Father's will, even though that's what they can read. That Messiah has an Elohim above him. He did not do his own will. He did not work his own will. He only did the Father's will, his Father's will. And so to follow Messiah is to do as Messiah did, to do the Father's will, and not our own. How could it be that the Messiah, whom they call God and Creator, did not do his own will, but did his Father's will, his Elohim's will? My Elohim, your Elohim, Messiah said, my God, your God. He has an Elohim. How could Messiah, the God Messiah, the Creator Messiah, as the church world says, not do his own will, but his Elohim's will, his Creator? So he didn't do his will, the Creator did not do his own will, but he did the Creator's will. Can anyone see a problem with this? What a great contradiction and impossibility. That means that's a lie, because truth is not contradiction. There is no contradiction spiritually in truth. There is no contradiction in truth. It cannot be so, or else it's not truth if it's a contradiction. So Messiah, the Creator, who they say is Creator, Make no mistake, they try to hide that when they need to, conveniently tossed by every wind of doctrine because they have no firm, true foundation in Messiah. They openly say it and they can't take it back, just like they said they went to the moon in the 60s. They can't take it back. It's too late. They would like everyone to die out so that they can make up a new story real quick. But they can't just do that. They can't just say we didn't go to the moon outright and sell that to the whole world, because they just already said they did years ago. And have, who knows how many times they've repeated that and confirmed that they did that. How could they take it back now? So when someone's caught in a lie, they can't come out of it. There's no way out. They're stuck in it. And someone will get buried with a shovel in their own lies if we don't come out of that lie immediately and repent. It's getting deeper and it's getting further buried. Then someone will have to cover that lie with another lie. The moment anyone covers a lie with another lie, that's a stronger judgment. That's a stronger sin, because it's an even greater sin to cover a lie already, which is confirming the lie is true and doing another work, another deceitful work, which is to cover the lie with another lie, and covering the lie is a lie itself. And then if you cover the lie that covers the lie, it just gets worse and worse. Someone's buried in it. We just read not to sleep the sleep of death. That's what it is. To sleep the sleep of death is only ever continually lie and be buried in it and sleep the sleep of death. A dead man buried in lies, covered in it, covered with the cloak of shame in reality. Now the creator is not Messiah. Messiah is not the creator. And the creator of the heavens and earth did not literally die, nor did he deny his own will to do his creator's will. He did not deny his own will, of which he's the creator, they say. So he denied the creator's will to do the creator's will. The creator denied his own will, of which he's the creator, to do the other creator's will. The amount of lies and contradictions in this is probably too much to be even named. You'd have to start writing it down and start looking at all the different contradictions and lies and impossibilities. It's bad. But the true Messiah denied himself, and we read the Father cannot deny himself. He does not deny himself. He's not a weak man. That's a sinner that owes someone something, that owes man something. Everything the Father does is out of his mercy and his love that he doesn't have to do. And people do say something like that, but do they believe it? How could they believe it when they believe that the Messiah is the creator that destroys all truth? How could they have understanding in their heart if they believe that fully still? It's blocking the truth. If someone has a lie in their heart and that's what they believe, they do not have the truth. It's simple. But this is not possible to have truth and understand it if there's still a lie in the heart being believed. It's replacing the truth, one or the other. That's why Messiah said you cannot serve two masters. Which one is it already? One or the other. Cannot serve money and Elohim. Cannot love money and serve it, meaning the works we do are only for the love of money and selfish increase and the love of it. And everything we do is out of the intent to grow carnally, loving money. Someone cannot have the creator that does that. They either have him or they don't. They can't straddle between both masters and two sides. This is an impossibility in the heart. It cannot happen. It's not possible. It's literally impossible. That's why Messiah is teaching this impossibility. You cannot serve two masters. Someone is either doing the one in their heart or the other. There's no in between gray area, lukewarm here, where someone's straddling both sides and flipping back and forth whenever they want to in the lukewarm gray middle area that Messiah vomits out, because it's not possible to actually live and do the words that people think is possible. There is no two ways. There's only one way. Which one is it? Is it the way, or is it the wide gateway? Is it the narrow way or the wide gateway? One of the two. That's it. How simple is that? Is it the good fish or the bad fish? Is it the good tree or the bad tree? Is it the light or dark, the good or evil? Is it the clean thing or the unclean thing? Is it the corrupt or incorruptible? Is it, which also reminds me that immortality is likened to zero corruption, and the Father is not corrupt. Therefore, he's immortal. He cannot die. He does not die. How is it that Messiah died? What does that say about man? What does that say about the Messiah? Did he not need the Father's grace and mercy and power to do the Father's will? Did he not need exactly what every believer needs today and since then? Wasn't Messiah the firstborn of the dead, the one that first lived the Father's true way in his heart, the first to ever do it? Messiah is first. He is the first spiritually that lived the Father's way, that no one else ever did before him. He said, all whoever came before me were robbers and thieves. All whoever came before me in their heart, speaking of the real works, not an image now, were robbers and thieves. No one that came before Messiah wasn't a robber and a thief. That's what everyone's heart is. But Messiah living the way first. He's the firstborn from the dead, the firstborn from that spiritual death that man is in because of sin. That's connected all the way back to Adam. And everybody sinned, therefore they are in the image of Adam and die because of sin. And that spiritual death becomes reality because of sin. And of course, the natural death and corruption. But that's not the heavenly important thing for believers, because it's broken. That proves that something's wrong with the lowly compared to the heavenly, because believers have not lived literally forever for believing, have they? So is that what it means? Did Messiah literally teach an abominable, contradicting impossibility? How quickly would that break someone and make them not believe if someone taught that as truth and said, this is what he means, that you shall never die, and anyone who believes in Messiah will never die? That is coming with a condition, and that's true belief. If someone is believing in him, they will never die. That's a good promise. That's an amazing promise. The belief has to be there, though. That much is true. And though someone dies, they will not die. I mean, it sounds as contradicting as it gets with the letters that Messiah spoke, and yet it's not. He's speaking of spiritual things, heavenly things. And that death is not the important thing, that the Father's truth that he is speaking about. He's speaking about the death that's caused by sin, the death that's caused by sin right now, and not some other lifetime or future that doesn't apply to us right now. Age abiding life. Anyone that is doing the Father's will that's of him has this life, and he promises that life won't be taken if we continue to believe, if someone believes, and though they die, dying to the old man, that corrupt old man is dying, and it's a real death, they will live, even though they die. Even while they die, they live. This is impossible without the Father's works and power. This would be utterly impossible. He makes the impossible possible. That's what his work is. Someone could see it. They would see that it's a miracle constantly, continually to be alive in this world while dying to that old man. And those that don't know him are just dying and dead. They don't have life. They don't have the life that Messiah speaks of, something real, something powerful, something that is a miracle that the Father gives freely as a gift. And only through belief, through the narrow way, through the true Messiah, who is not the creator, can someone have this life through the same denial of self that Messiah denied himself, that which the Father cannot deny himself. Like we read, Elohim cannot deny himself. He does not do that. So how could it be that the Messiah, the creator Messiah, the false Messiah, denied himself? Because what? God is corrupt? Because the creator Messiah, always connecting that, because that is what they absolutely say and cannot take it back. They've been saying it for 2,000 years, that this false Messiah denied himself. Why? Because the creator is a sinner that has to put away his own wicked works. So the creator put away his own wicked works and his sin to do his creator's will, who is one with that creator. This is utterly corrupt. That's why we read, there is none who does good, no, not one. How true is that? 14:3 is a little bit of what we read in Romans elsewhere. Part of where he's gathering those verses in Romans, where is it? Romans 10, I think, where there is no one who does good, not even one. That is partly in the Psalm 14:3. We do have in verse 1, there is none who does good. They are corrupt. So some of this is in here, but not all of it. But now it's just interesting that this is the Greek Septuagint, and of course from that Greek to English now. So where is this? Oh, I see what I did. I clicked. And this is just something that anybody could pop up through the internet. And this is Septuagint. Greek to English now. So this is not Hebrew. So let me go to 14, because in the Hebrew we read, they all have turned aside, they have together become corrupt. There is none who does good, no, not one. That is 14:3. So right away there's a difference. In 14 verse 3 in the Septuagint, verse 3 is, who has not spoken craftily with his tongue, neither has done evil to his neighbor, nor taken up a reproach against that dwelt nearest to him. None of that is in here. It's not even chapter 14. You have to go to, here it is, 13. Now chapter 13 is lining up with chapter 14 in Hebrew, but the Greek Septuagint, so-called, is in 13. Full in his heart there is no one. They have corrupted self, abominable. There's none who does goodness. There's not even so much down from heaven. So now verse 3 starts here. They are all gone out of the way. They are together become good for nothing. There is none who does good, no, not one. And now that's where it stops in the Hebrew. Have all the workers of iniquity no knowledge, who eat up my people as they eat bread? But in Septuagint, verse 3 has everything that the apostle said in the Romans. Their throat is an open sepulchre, with their tongues they have used deceit. The poison of asps is under their lips, whose mouth is full of bitterness, cursing and bitterness. Their feet are swift to shed blood. Destruction and misery are in the ways, and the way of peace they have not known. There is no fear of Elohim before their eyes. All of this highlighted is not in Psalm 14 in Hebrew. It's not there. And these are the same words in Greek, if the Greek is looked at, identical to what we read in the New Testament, the apostles saying this. And they can easily say, as I put in the description, that he's quoting from this. And nobody ever thinks to question or ask that, how suspicious is it that in the Greek it's literally exactly the same? What are the odds of that anyways, that it's literally exactly the same, word for word, with like no variance in the Greek, with this Septuagint and the apostles' words in the Greek? It's exactly the same, and it's not in it's not in the Hebrew in that area in Psalm 14:3, and the chapter is one off. It's at some point it becomes one off, I guess. I don't know if that happens right from the beginning or somewhere later, but you have to go to chapter 14 to get the same, the full is one of the biggest blunders that I know of concerning Septuagint and the contradiction and what I see absolutely as the lie, and the Hebrew's not corrupt, but somebody added this after the New Testament was done years ago back into the Old Testament Greek, and then they imply that the Old Testament always had this in this area, in this section, because the apostles' words cannot be found word for word anywhere in only part of it in that verse 14:3. But now the Septuagint has all the rest of the apostles' words in verse 3, implying that the Old Testament always had this here and the Hebrew is corrupt. And it's obvious to me that this was added. And I can see it. It's not that hard to see. And it looks corrupt because it is corrupt. And then it calls the Hebrew corrupt. But can someone do that if they're sinning and not be the very corruption that they imply? That his word is literally corrupt and missing all these words, and that Septuagint is some superior Old Testament translation. That's the original, that's closer, and not the Hebrew. Can they be anything else than the very corruption they accuse if it's a lie and a sin? Or isn't it the Septuagint that's corrupt here in this area, and that somebody added these words, copied the apostles' words from the New Testament back into the Septuagint, and then the devil just hushes it all up, and people accept the corruption because people love corruption. That's what sells. And so then a lot of people out there, I guess, textual critics and things like textual critics, hypocritical when it's done evilly. Hypocritical, hypercritical. There's many that would believe that his word is literally corrupt and that this is how it should be. But doesn't even ask the question, doesn't even look at anything else, make any discernment. It's not even possible to ask the question that this is all copied word for word in Greek with no variants, which is already very strange that that's happening. It's just like the same thing that they say with the gospel accounts. If it was all word for word identical, that would be suspicious of someone trying to make his word perfect in their own mind and worried about anything that looks or sounds a little bit off. But we don't get that with the gospel accounts, do we? It's not like that. And then people will say, well, that's actually evidence for no corruption happening with it. Well, the same thing's applying here. Being word for word with no variance is very suspicious of someone copying it word for word and worried, faithless, that the Hebrew is corrupt, and in fact imply that it's corrupt as soon as they do this work. But is it a big deal? Well, it depends. If someone is focusing on the works of the heart, then it is a big deal. Because the intention of the heart is rebellious, 13. And this big blunder happens to be in chapter 13 in Psalms, in the Septuagint, where it's in 14 in the Hebrew. I find that interesting that it happened, that it's this big crazy blunder is actually chapter 13, the number of rebellion. Isn't that incredible? What a great sign that that's corrupt, that it is the corruption. Man's heart, that adds to his word literally, and then tries to imply that the Hebrew is missing because it's adding to it so that they make it look like it's missing. But who can see the difference between the truth and the lie when the image looks so convincing? And then nobody questions it, hardly. And then that's how all the workers of iniquity have no knowledge. Have all the workers of iniquity no knowledge? Psalm of David, Jehovah, who may abide in your tabernacle, who may dwell in your holy hill, he who walks uprightly and works righteousness and speaks the truth in his heart, not someone saying they're sorry when they shouldn't be. Will they abide in the Father's tabernacle and dwell in his holy hill when they lie and do not speak the truth? Is it truth to be sorry when you shouldn't be sorry? And who hasn't done this? I know I've done it. It's too easy to do. This is not a good work. This is a lie. That's not truth. To imply and make it look like someone's sorry when they shouldn't be, to cover themselves, to make themselves look good, and then also despise someone being sorry, not accepting it when it's real. It's been my experience. If it's a false sorry in the heart, someone can accept it. They'll accept it because it's false. They just already sense and see the works of evil, and it only see and accept evil. When it sees good, it doesn't know what it's looking at. That's an abomination. That's the wickedness. Nope, nope, nope. It can't accept good because it doesn't see good. It doesn't love good, doesn't know what it is. It can't, that's the abomination to it, whatever is truly good in the heart, the works of the heart. He who does not backbite with his tongue, nor does evil to his neighbor, nor does he take up reproach against his friend, in whose eyes a vile person is despised, but he honors those who fear Jehovah. He who swears to his own hurt and does not change, he who does not put out his money at usury, nor does he take, there it is again, I think in the last video too, yes, about bribes, not taking a bribe, nor does he take a bribe. That's how someone can dwell in his tabernacle, that walks uprightly, speaks truth in its heart, works righteousness, and does not take a bribe against the innocent. He who does these things shall never be moved. What is the condition? He who does these things shall never be moved. And we do read something like this in the New Testament somewhere, that if we do these things, we will not be moved. And not being moved here is good. This is being fixed like the stars in the sky, fixed where they should be, with their purpose, with the design, moving together. But then to be moved out of place is to be a wandering star. It's outside of the Father's tabernacle, outside of his will, in darkness, working corruption and wandering with no fixed. It's always moving. Where the stars are all fixed, they go in a circle and they repeat that same pattern. It's fixed. It's not moving in this way. See, it's not moving even though it's all moving. It sounds contradicting, and it's not. Everything needs to be rightly divided. But the wandering star is reserved for darkness to the age. Why wandering stars? Because those represent the rebellion, the wandering stars. They've left their domain. They're out of their place, their domain. These are reserved to darkness. My goodness is nothing apart from you. O my soul, you have said to Jehovah, you are my master. My goodness is nothing apart from you. How true is that? As for the saints who are on the earth, they are the excellent ones, in whom is all my delight. How are they excellent ones? Through this, the goodness is nothing, zero, apart from you. Therefore, their excellence is nothing apart from him, the Father. Their sorrows shall be multiplied who hasten after another God. Their drink offerings of blood I will not offer, nor take up their names on my lips. O Jehovah, you are the portion of my inheritance and my cup. You maintain my lot. The lines have fallen to me in pleasant places. Yes, I have a good inheritance. I will bless Jehovah, who has given me counsel. My heart also instructs me in the night seasons. Because I have set Jehovah always before me. Because he is at my right hand, I shall not be moved. Therefore my heart is glad and my glory rejoices. Messiah taught whoever seeks his own glory does not seek the Father's glory, but that's wicked. It's unrighteous. Whoever seeks their own glory and not the Father's. So then my glory rejoices is only seen always through my glory is nothing apart from you. It's him, it's from him. Then it can be said, what sounds contradicting? Excellent ones, the righteous, my glory rejoices, because this is not speaking of the carnal glory of self-glory. My flesh also will rest in hope, for you will not leave my soul in Sheol, the grave, the pit, the death, where the dead are, Sheol, nor will you allow your Holy One to see corruption. We have this actually quoted, and it's pretty known, I think. You will not leave my soul in Sheol. And from the Hebrew, that word Sheol to mean grave. I think in the King James and some others, the New Testament, will say, you will not leave my soul in hell, which is implying that Messiah went to hell. Because as soon as someone departs from the truth, even in the slightest, and does not speak the truth, but now we read hell in a translation that's obviously coming from Scripture in Psalm, long before those words were ever written down in the New Testament, quoting from this truth, prophecy. Does this mean what they say hell means? It does not at all. So how could it be something different than what it's quoting from his word? Leave my soul in hell. So is there two hells? One, when we read hell in the New Testament with the certain translation like King James, or even New King James in the New Testament and others that say hell, are there two hells secretly? And then they just choose whichever one they want to be whenever they want and feel like it. So when it says Hell, this is not the hell they speak of now. This is not the place where the Father tortures people forever. Was Messiah in the place where the wicked go and are tortured forever? What on earth is that? What is this corruption? Are they trying to say he went to hell for sinners so that we don't go to hell? He literally went to hell so that we don't go to hell. So the righteous do go to hell. Messiah went to hell and suffered and burned for a while, but he wasn't left in hell. So I suppose the righteous go to hell. What are they implying? What does their doctrine really mean? And I think the Greek word there, Hades, I think that's how it's pronounced, Hades, but that's a whole nother thing to speak about. A word that's used from Greek that's connected to, the Greek mythology. It's not truly that, even though it looks like it, because it's coming from Scripture, and Sheol never meant Greek mythology. There is no teaching of hell in all of Scripture, in all of the Old Testament. There is no place where people go underground and are tortured forever and ever with no end. There is no such thing or place. And so then there is no such thing when we read it, quoted from Scripture. Messiah went to the grave. Yes, he died for all. This is the truth. He died for man. He did do that so that those can die with him that believe, so that they can live with him, because the only way to live is through dying and through death of the old man. There's no other way to live. It must lay down its life. So Messiah laid down the flesh. He laid down his life, which is an ultimate sacrifice, the good sacrifice for others, and not sacrificing others for its own self-gain. This is the sacrifice of the wicked, which is an abomination in his sight. The sacrifice of the wicked is an abomination in his sight. Wicked talk about sacrifice all the time. They even say the literal word all the time. The sacrifice they speak of is sacrificing others for its own self-gain, sacrificing its family for its own gain. And people will worship that sacrifice and say, what a righteous man doing hard work, hard time to get what he has. He even sacrificed his own family to increase in wealth and riches and fame. What a righteous man. This is the sacrifice of the wicked. It's an abomination to him. And of course, the world doesn't believe that that's an abomination. It believes the wicked sacrifice is the good sacrifice. And it believes the good sacrifice is an abomination. You will show me the path of life. In your presence is fullness of joy. And at your right hand are pleasures forevermore. Where is this word? Sheol. My soul in hell. 7585. Focus. Now this marking is, this vowel point is the same as in the Father's name. The exact same marking under the letter, under the first letter. Do we have his name within this verse? Yeah. Or in this chapter. 3068. Yud He Vav He. Yud with the same as in Sheol. So that being the when it's in the front, vowel. So yeah. So then she, but I used to say Sheol until I actually looked at it and seen a contradiction after finding out that it was a contradiction for my own self. And once I can see it, so once someone sees something, okay, now what do we do? Do what's wrong on purpose to maintain an image, to look pleasing to other people's sights? If we have the knowledge and don't do according to what's right, and I'm using this as a simple example and not putting it above spiritual things. But then again, there's a connection so often with the natural, because it depends why the heart's doing, what the intentions and thoughts of the heart. Why is someone doing what they're doing? It's a contradiction for me to say Sheol on purpose now when using that word. When it's the exact same marking under Hova. It's the same marking. How could it be something different now? How could it be a different vowel point or pronunciation when it's identical? Because the Father's things, if it's identical, it's the same. It's there for a reason. The moment it could be different breaks all of it, breaks everything. It's a contradiction that eats and destroys its own self, like a snake eating its tail to destroy itself. The moment a good law, a rule, means one thing, but now it can mean the exact opposite and mean something completely different. One time, even out of 100, the moment it can do that, now it has no purpose. It's chaos. It has no purpose. It contradicts its own self. It doesn't mean anything anymore. And that's saying it lightly, besides it being wicked and evil. The moment this exact same vowel point could be something completely different than let's say it's now. Well, why is it in this one, in this word, sha'ol? If let's say it's someone says it's what does this mean now? What does that vowel point mean? Over here it's but over here it's What does that mean? It completely destroys itself. It makes the Father's word literally into foolishness. So it makes whatever truth or law or rule, commandment being spoken of into foolishness. That's what the enemy will try to do on purpose so that it can call it foolishness. We need to watch out for that, because the devil's devices are crafty. Without sight, they are crafty, but they are always crafty. But with sight, then we see through it, because discernment is given from above to see the stupid craftiness and the foolishness of it for real. But without his sight, we will be tricked in every way. and deceived in any and every way easily, because the heart is deceitful above all things. So this is just an example now that's applying to every commandment, every law, every rule, everything that's good, that has a purpose. Now all of a sudden it's chaos, void, like the beginning of creation, the first creation, that natural creation, the old man, the first natural man, then the spiritual man, then Messiah, the second man. It breaks its own self. Now someone can say, well, why is it here or because I've said so, because I want to, because I feel like it. But now in another word, the same marking is or it's and here it's 10 times, but now the 11th time with another word it's then with the 16th word it's then it's or e. Now it has no purpose or meaning. It's totally making up its own righteousness, its own law. It does not follow the Father's laws or follow Messiah, follow the Father at all. The moment a contradiction appears in anything is the moment that it's its own law that it created, its own wicked, contradicting self-righteousness. It does not follow anything. It does not have consistency. It breaks itself. It destroys itself. So that's the letter for the SH sound with the dot on the right, the shin. And we have the vowel to say how it's pronounced, she, combining the SH with the vowel sound, But for the Father's name that has the exact same marking under the first yud, under the letter, the two vertical dots, now we'll just say it's it's Yah. It's Yah something because we feel like it, because we said so. But for this word with the identical marking, it's And for another word, maybe it's or all or whatever, something different. Maybe most of the times it's but then all of a sudden the identical thing is something else. I mean, this is man's works. This is what he does with everything. It's everywhere and it can be seen if someone can see. Now we have the root word etymology for Sheol. Let's see how the blue letter happens to pronounce it.
Strong's H, 7585. Sheol, Sheol. And second entry, Sheol, Sheol.
Okay, so it's sourcing from something else for the second entry, but it ends up being the same. Root word etymology. Now this is the same letter, SH, but it's got a different marking under it. How could it not be something different about it? And now this is Sha. So then if this marking is the sound under the letter, then everywhere it's used, it should be if there's no other difference. And it's just this letter with just a vowel point under, now it's Sha instead of She. Well, what people do with all the Father's laws, breaking it and mixing it and matching it however they please, their own self-righteousness, is it will do this with his word literally, but I'm speaking of the works of the heart spiritually. But this is a picture of what it does. It makes no distinguishing, it makes no discernment or difference between two things that need to be discerned and rightly divided. It calls the two things that should be separate one. It makes no difference. Or when they should be divided, or when they should be one rather, then it divides it and makes a difference when it should be one and not divided. This is backwards. Sha'al. Because if you do a quick search about these in the Jews in the Far East that people call Jews, the true Jews, because of their blood types, supposedly their race, all mixed and all confusion, which has nothing to do with truth. That's not the truth. They're speaking of outwardly things that even that is a lie in itself, besides there's so many lies within the lie, because they're stressing and focusing on the flesh, saying that that's what a Jew is, based on where his blood, his race, where he lives, all these things. And none of it matters. The only thing that matters is keeping the Father's laws and commandments in our heart, which is to be doing his will. They'll say that these are both They will say that this is the T mark looking one, but they will also say this is the horizontal line. They will make no difference between these two things. They just combine them and mix his word, literally. This is what the heart's doing. The heart has to do this wicked work to do it literally. So if it's done literally, it's already being done in the heart. The wicked spiritual work is being done, and then it produces something literal where they say these two things are one and the same. They are both So why is there why? So you could reverse these two now, and they're So why is one different? No reason. No reason. That's what happens when you lie. The moment someone combines two things that are separate and different as one and the same is the moment confusion and lies and contradictions exist. That very same millisecond, is the very same millisecond that the lie and contradiction appears, that there is no order, there is nothing that makes sense. It could be whatever you want whenever you feel like it. Today I feel like writing it like this. I'll put this one for now the next letter, it's also but I'll write it different. I could mix and match them whatever I want. So many Hebrew words have these back to back different, or they both have the T next to each other, or both have the horizontal line, or they have one like this and that, or it has the horizontal one here and the T there. All those things mean nothing. There's no reason for them. It's incredible. How obvious is it that that's a lie, that at the very least what they're doing is not true, and that there is no truth or consistency in it. It's broken. So then whatever someone says this is, if it's the exact same thing, it should be the same thing. And that's simple. That's not confusion. That's simple. And people don't like simple in truth because because they think simple is stupid. Keep it simple, stupid. Because the simple truth doesn't allow for an image of wisdom. It doesn't allow someone to look amazing and wise. How does someone do that? Through confusion, through literal stupidity. Someone looks wise. Why? Because it's confusing. Because confusion can't actually be understood. So then masses of people go, wow, that's so wise. I can't even comprehend or even remotely think the way my God, man, somebody that they're worshiping. He's a God, as people say. His mind is beyond, he's a God. I can't touch him with a 5,000-foot pole. He's so wise. I can't understand what he's saying. Yeah, that's a bunch of lying gibberish because they're speaking a bunch of delusion and confusion, making themselves look wise through a bunch of stupidity and complex confusion. The moment something is confusing, it's complex. Man uses the complexity for an image and sells it as wisdom. He calls complex lies that are stupid wisdom. He calls that wisdom but simple things don't allow for someone to sell that as an image of wisdom. It's too simple and true. You cannot, if it's truth and simple, it cannot cause the work of confusion. It doesn't sell a image of wisdom because it's not confusing or complex. Therefore, whatever looks complex, people will call that like wise because of the complexity. This doesn't allow for any selling of wicked wisdom for an image because it's too simple. It's pure. It's not confusing. How could it be something that simple? And man is so broken in all things. It's hard to believe. Also, something very simple is every time we read the Lord, there is no definite article in the actual Hebrew, and anybody can check. It's always just Yehovah when we read the Lord. The word the is added by translators. Because of doing one lie, they have to do another. So instead of putting his name down and they translate other words like tree, whatever tree is in Hebrew, and then you write tree in English. That's the word. In a different language, it'll be a different word than tree because it's a different language. But it's still speaking of the same thing, tree, whatever the word is. So why don't they do all this with all his word, literally, but they do not put his name down in what you would spell it in English to pronounce it like they do every other word. Why do they translate the Hebrew word tree, whatever that is, and write down tree in English? And in Chinese, it would be their version of tree because of a different language. How simple is that? But they don't do this. They replace it with Lord, which is not even a name. Even they have to say that. It's just a title. It's not his name, Lord, the Lord. They have to put the Lord because when you read, as his name is used thousands of times, it doesn't make sense. It's broken without the in there so often, most of the time. So wherever we see, oh, my soul, you have said to Lord. No, you got to add the because it's broken without the. Does it need to be explained? Oh, my soul, you have said to the Lord, to Lord. So they add the because they did a lie with his name, and then it breaks something, and now they have to add in something that shouldn't be added, another lie, to make the lie make sense. The moment it's corrected and we read whatever the Father's name is, then this gets the can be removed. Oh, my soul, you have said to Yehovah, you are my master, because this is not all caps. This is not Father's name behind this word in Hebrew. My goodness is nothing apart from you. So then when the good thing is that if we do good, we can reverse the evil by repenting and doing good. Then one good work will restore another good work. That's the good news. And one lie means we have to do another lie and then another lie, and it just keeps getting worse. But if a good work is done, now it allows for another good work, a blessing to be done that never can be unless the good thing is done. What is it? What do we have here now? What verse is this? 16:2. Oh, my soul, you have said to the Lord. So what's in actual Hebrew? We have the Lamed, one letter before, so something like said to, what's the literal thing say? Unto the Lord still puts the, and go to 16:2 to like Young's literal, see what it says. Thou hast said to Jehovah. So something like to is the Lamed acting like that before his name. It's not the definite article. I will bless the Lord. Where is it? I will bless. And then the next one is just the Father's name. There is no the. They add the there, but this is just in the Hebrew. That's just his name there. There's no the. There doesn't need to be one because it's not meant to be replaced with some title. I have set Jehovah always before me, not the Lord. The never needs to be used when we say his name. I will bless Jehovah, replacing this garbage with his name. I will bless Jehovah who has given me counsel. Now it would be broken to say I will bless the Jehovah. This is not in the Hebrew, the. It's not in there. This is just an example of just how bad man's heart is. It just cannot do what's right. It's It's masquerading as what's right. It counts its own wisdom to say, oh, we capitalize it. We make a distinction. You're capitalizing and blowing up a lie, masquerading as good and righteous. So then someone just sees, oh yeah, it's Lord. They have reverence for him because they put it in caps. It's capitalizing a lie. It's not good. It only looks good to someone that has no sight. It's actually evil. It's sin. It's capitalizing sin. It's blowing up sin to capitalize Lord. If it did what's right, it would just put his name. That would be reverence to the Creator. Oh Lord. We just have Jehovah as the first word. I don't know. I don't see anything. Well, there is a certain vowel point here, and I'm not sure what that one means. You have said to the Lord. Already read that one. I have set the Lord always before me. It's not there. This Hebrew word being something like I have set, and then there it is, the Lord. It's just his name. I have set Jehovah always before me, because it's added here, he is at my right hand. I shall not be moved. So what will people do tomorrow and the next day? They will be sorry for things they don't need to be sorry for, and things that they do need to be sorry for, like this, they will not be sorry for. They will blow up the lie and be proud in it, and they will highlight it. They will justify and support the lie. They will not be sorry for this abomination here. It's almost 7,000 times in his word, doing this with his name every single time, every place. Interestingly enough, I don't know of anything out there that actually puts in Jehovah, but the closest, if you know, close doesn't mean righteous at all, is that Jehovah. That's the closest I've ever seen in any translation, but they cannot and they will not put Jehovah. No, they won't. That's true. That's too good. Plus thousands of times in his word, exalting his name literally. Well, that would be a start. That would be a good foundation. No, it's not doing that. It's got to be a lie. It's got to be Jehovah, because that's not his name. And my name's not Brian. My name's not Bob. It doesn't matter if it's sounding close. So that's how man works. There's no such thing as closer, but you can speak like that because of knowing what people mean by it. Saying this is the closest thing, but that doesn't actually mean anything. Saying this is closer does not mean that it's actually right or good at all. It's still wrong. It's no good. There's people out there that have gone so far. I mean, that's why they have this tradition with translation, is that it's blasphemy to say his name. Yes, it's blasphemy to the devil to say the Father's name. Of course, it's blasphemy to literally say his name. That's incredible. It's blasphemy to not say his name and say the Lord and make a lie to everyone about it. Say we replaced it with this because of some tradition. That's what all the prefaces say. We replaced it because of some lying tradition made up by unbelievers. And that sticks. That's what sells, because it's a wicked world and wickedness only sells. It's a miracle that any of his word even exists. It's a miracle. They can't make it go away, but they haven't actually corrupted the Father's word. No, they haven't. It does look like it, but they can't actually corrupt it. Someone can hear these words, because the definition of corruption is not, the Father is not reduced to letters on a page. Does that make his word void and not important? No, it's not, but everything in its own order. The power and meaning of his word is far greater than some literal ink on a page. And that doesn't make his word worthless. It just sounds like it's worthless, makes it sound lower, because everything has an order, and the heavenly things must be far greater than the earthly things. They have not set Jehovah always before them. Before, not anything else. First, always first, above all things. They have not done that. If they did, at the very least, they wouldn't do this. If they can't do the simplest things, how are they doing anything greater? They're not. Now, Messiah was not left in the grave because he was resurrected from Sheol, the grave, because he lives again, because he was dead and now he's alive and will not die a second time. Now he's not corruptible, he's changed. He is the first man, the Messiah, the true Messiah, is the example of how to live, period, in all things from the heart. And he's the example and pattern that all believers must follow, meaning what is also to be followed. That death for a believer is not the end, but it brings the resurrection. That is the pattern, is that man will be resurrected, believers will be resurrected. This is the hope and belief they have. This is the truth. This is what his word actually teaches, a resurrection. It doesn't teach anything else. It's not in there. Someone can try to make it sound and look like that. They'll be exposed, and pretty easily. It does not teach anything but the resurrection, the spiritual first, the heavenly thing, and the natural, both. Even so strongly saying there is no hope if there's not a resurrection. Only in this life, then we would be a most miserable, most to be pitied of a people. And how wouldn't that be true? It would be true if that was the case, but it's not the case. Messiah is the first example of the many, that the sum of all his people through the whole age, and that's why we read many. Not because there's many called, but many when we're speaking of believers throughout the whole age, those that, all of them that would ever believe. Now we could say many because there is many. There's not many in any given generation. There's not many called. There's not many chosen. There's many called, few chosen. The many don't want to do his will. They don't want life. I mean, they pretend like they want life, but they don't actually want it, because no one can have life while in continual sin with no regard to what they do and no regard to worshiping other gods and idols and false Elohims and not the true. Someone will be in corruption, blind and deceived and in death if they have any other Elohim except Jehovah. And that is to have more than him only in the heart as Elohim. The moment there's a second Elohim or a third in some trinity is the same moment someone's heart is already corrupt and they don't have him, they don't know him, they must put this away. Notice how strongly it'll be attached to the false god and gods, because there's something real going on there. It cannot give that up. Can't give it up. The good news is that believers, it's got to be for this way for them, is they can't give up the creator. They cannot worship any other Elohim except the true. This is good. This is a good cannot do any other thing and worship any other creator or Elohim as creator, even if it means their death. Even if it means their literal death, they cannot do it. And that's a good cannot versus the bad cannot. So much in Psalm. You have tested my heart. You have visited me in the night. You have tried me and have found nothing. Now, how easily could that be twisted right there? Just take it out all by itself. And someone claims that they do no sin. They have no sin on them at all. They never sin, because they took this verse, pulled it out, and created a doctrine around it and used his word deceitfully and wickedly. You have tried me and have found nothing. I have purposed that my mouth shall not transgress. This is what we need to end up being at any given moment, and go towards this goal of being perfected. That when a certain thing is tested and he visits us, as Messiah taught that he would do, what will he find his people doing when those times come? How many times? I don't know. Multiple times, many times. What will Moses find the people doing when he comes down to check? Sin, worshiping other gods, creating their own gods in their own ways. What will Messiah do when he looks and finds? He finds people worshiping other gods in their heart, which is the adultery, which is the idolatry, which is the fornication, all the spiritual wickedness in high places in the heart. This is not meaning anything to do with what I just said about never sinning and never having any fault. That's nonsense. But this is meaning and being connected to being innocent in a work we did that was good, and it was tested, and the Father found it good, that good work in that moment. This is what needs to be happening. And you have found nothing. It's easy to say these words by the enemy at all times, because they could just spit out the words with no care whether what they say is a lie or not, with understanding. It doesn't care that it lies. The believer must care about lying. Rather, they must care about not lying. But yes, even care about lying, in that it matters if we lie. It's a big deal if we lie. Concerning the works of men, by the word of your lips I have kept away from the paths of the destroyer. Uphold my steps in your paths, that my footsteps may not slip. Call upon you, for you will hear me, O Elohim. Okay, here it's technically not Elohim, but the shorter, somewhat similar to his name, Yehovah, and then the shorter Yah with Ale. And normally that would be said El, pronouncing it L, but we have a different vowel point. We don't have the one for but this is like in between and ale. Godlike, one, mighty mighty men of rank. Yes, people can be called this. And we do read there are many so-called gods, but there's only one true God, false God, God, the one true God, Jehovah, imagination, demon, strength, power. So it also depends how it's being used too. Incline your ear to me and hear my speech. Show your marvelous loving kindness by your right hand. O you who save those who trust in you. That's all that needs to be done, is that's the real work that needs to be done. He saves those that trust in him. The wicked don't need to trust in their creator, of which is not their creator because of the heart problem, but nevertheless, he still is literally their creator. Because pride doesn't need anyone except self to rule itself. Keep me as the apple of your eye, hide me under the shadow of your wings. From the wicked one who oppressed me, from the wicked who oppress me, from my deadly enemies who surround me. They have closed up their fat hearts. With their mouths they speak proudly. They have now surrounded us in our steps. They have set their eyes crouching down to the earth, as a lion is eager to tear his prey. That's an evil heart, and like a young lion lurking in secret places. Arise, O Jehovah. confront him, cast him down, deliver my life from the wicked with your sword, with your hand from men, O Jehovah, from men of the world who have their portion in this life and whose belly you fill with your hidden treasure. They are satisfied with children and leave the rest of their possession for their babes. As for me, I will see your face in righteousness. I shall be satisfied when I awake in your likeness. Well, that went together really well with the resurrection. There's a verse that speaks about the resurrection right there. I shall be satisfied when I awake in your likeness, in your image, to be the created new. As Messiah awoke from the dead to now forever be in the Father's likeness, in his image. This is not pride. And the Father will create and has created through understanding prophecy that what he says is already as if it happened and will happen. He created all in his image. So all of man must be conformed to his image. All must go through Messiah. There is no other way. Jehovah is my rock and my fortress, the Lord. So what do we have here? Just the Father's name, Yud-He, Vav-He. There is no the before it. There's no anything before it. Jehovah is my rock and my fortress and my deliverer, my Elohim. Maybe this time it's Elohim. Or is it El? It's not. It's El. My strength in whom I will trust, my shield and the horn of my salvation, my stronghold. The pangs of death surround me, and the floods of ungodliness made me afraid. The sorrows of Sheol surround me. The snares of death confronted me. In my distress, I called upon Jehovah and cried out to my Elohim. El, wouldn't know, my God. Yeah, El. He heard my voice from his temple, and my cry came before him, even to his ears. The earth shook and trembled. The foundations of the hills also quaked and were shaken because he was angry. Smoke went up from his nostrils, and devouring fire from his mouth. Coals were kindled by it. He bowed the heavens also and came down with darkness under his feet. He rode upon the cherub and flew. He flew upon the wings of the wind, made darkness his secret place. That doesn't sound good. His canopy around him was dark waters and thick clouds of the skies. From the brightness before him, his thick clouds passed with hailstones and coals of fire. Jehovah thundered from heaven, and the Most High uttered his voice, hailstones and coals of fire. He sent out his arrows and scattered the foe lightnings in abundance, and he vanquished them. Channels of the sea were seen, the foundations of the world were uncovered. At your rebuke, O Jehovah, at the blast of the breath of your nostrils, he sent from above. He took me, he drew me out of many waters. He delivered me from my strong enemy, from those who hated me, for they were too strong for me. They confronted me in the day of my calamity, but Jehovah was my support. He also brought me out into a broad place. He delivered me because he delighted in me. Jehovah rewarded me according to my righteousness. According to the cleanness of my hands, he has recompensed me. For I have kept the ways of Jehovah and have not wickedly departed from my God, Elohim El. For all his judgments were before me, and I did not put away his statutes from me. Also was blameless before him, and I kept myself from my iniquity. Therefore Jehovah has recompensed me according to my righteousness, according to the cleanness of my hands in his sight. With the merciful you will show mercy. You will show yourself merciful. With the blameless man you will show yourself blameless. There is no in between. It is one thing or the other with his judgments. He's perfect. With the pure you will show yourself pure. This is sounding very much like the apostle saying, with the pure all things are pure. And everything that's filthy, all things are filthy. With the pure, you will show yourself pure, and with the devious, you will show yourself shrewd. That's what he's going to look like to them, because that's what they are. That's the judgment. No one can break it. If they do a wicked work from the heart, if that's all that someone does continually, with the devious, he will show himself shrewd. With the pure, he will show himself to be pure. What will a believer think of the Father and know he is? Pure. What will the unbeliever think of the Father? Wicked. For you will save the humble people. It teaches this. Anyone that says anything else is a liar. No, the wicked will never believe the Creator is good. They must believe he's wicked, because they are, because they're at war and enmity with him, because his judgment demands it to be so, that he will show himself shrewd to them, wicked to them, a deceiver, a murderer, a thief, a killer, a robber. You cannot see that that's what it is itself, for you will save the humble people, but you will bring down haughty looks. You will light my lamp, Jehovah my Elohim will enlighten my darkness. We are darkness without him, but this is what he will do for those that believe and trust in him. He will enlighten my darkness, for by you I can run against a troop. By my Elohim. Actually, this word, it's in between. I think that's something different. It's I believe, but I don't know that I've found exactly what this means when the two vowel points are combined under the letter. I don't know if that means it's faster, or you say it quicker, or something's different about it, and I'm not 100% on that. That's all. It doesn't mean that something is wrong with his word. That's nonsense. Jehovah my Elohim will enlighten my darkness, for by you I can run against the troop. By my Elohim I can leap over a wall. As for Elohim, his way is perfect. The word of Jehovah is proven. He is a shield to all who trust in him, for who is Elohim except Jehovah? Except only one, Jehovah. Is Messiah called Jehovah? No. He's not called the Creator's name. He has the Father's name within his name, but he is not Jehovah. And who is a rock except our Elohim? Yes, Messiah was made to be the rock. There is no rock without the Creator. There would be no Messiah as a rock without the Creator. He is the only rock. And that's going to be a problem with people, because that sounds contradicting. That Messiah is also called, the rock, the cornerstone, because the Father made him to be. But how can't people see this simple thing, that it's because the Father is the only rock? There would be no one. There wouldn't even be anyone alive without him. It is Elohim who arms me with strength and makes my way perfect. He makes my feet like the feet of deer and sets me on my high places. Teaches my hands to make war, so that my arms can bend a bow of bronze. What is the war we have to fight? The spiritual war. We have to be able to fight the war. Put on the shield. Hold the shield. Put on the helmet. Put on the breastplate of salvation. The apostle also says, speaking of that spiritual war, you have also given me the shield of your salvation. There it is. Your right hand has held me up. Your gentleness has made me great. You enlarged my path under me, so my feet did not slip. Wow, there's a lot of verses here. I don't know that I'll read them all right now. I have pursued my enemies and overtaken them. Neither did I turn back until they were destroyed. Now, a carnal man that's ready to create a religion reads these letters. He thinks of what they mean for his own understanding, and he goes and destroys people and kills them. He goes and deceives them, kills them, lies to them. He follows God and speaks that he hears from God and does the God's word, because he's a carnal man that does not know Jehovah and does not seek understanding from him, but speaks of the God of this world, the destroyer. Anyone that teaches that murder and literal killing is okay is wicked. I have wounded them so that they could not rise. They have fallen under my feet. To the wicked, this will be wicked. To the righteous, this will be righteous. For you have armed me with the strength for the battle. That'll be wicked to the wicked, and to the righteous, that'll be righteous and good and pure. You have subdued under me those who rose up against me. You also have given me the neck of my enemies. To the wicked, this will be wicked. To the righteous, this will be pure, so that I destroyed those who hated me. To the wicked, this will be wicked. To the righteous, this will be pure. They cried out, but there was none to save, even to Jehovah, but he did not answer them. Why? Because they never sought after him a day in their life. They only used him despitefully, used others despitefully for their own gain. They only made it look like they seek him, but they only sought after their own wealth and their own riches and their own self-glory, their own wisdom, their own fame, to be famous, to be loved by the world. Those are the things they really sought after, and they sought after other gods. That's what they truly did. Otherwise, the Father would answer them. He doesn't answer those that never seek him, that do a bunch of evil, and now they're going to cry out and help in a time. Now the judgment's coming back. Now only a certain fearful expectation is coming on someone, and it won't be anything else, no matter what they do. That is stern. That is a frightening thought. Only a fearful expectation of judgment will come on the evildoer, and I'm bringing a picture, that just slayed someone and killed them literally. Now that person cries out when trouble's coming to him. He will not be answered. He just slayed a man. Now he must be slayed. Now he must be captured and taken and destroyed through whatever means the Father judges. It's not our judgment to do and determine, but that's the understanding and truth. He will not answer someone that just got done murdering someone that does not seek him. Is that what the Father told that man to do? Go and murder someone? Go and literally put a knife in someone's back? Now that person's in trouble because judgment's coming around on him. Now his cry won't be answered. That's the truth. Then I beat them as fine as the dust before the wind. I cast them out like dirt in the streets. The Messiah dashes the nations to pieces, dashes believers to pieces. He will dash them to pieces with the rod of iron. You have delivered me from the strivings of the people. You have made me the head of the nations. A people I have not known shall serve me. Interesting here. People I have not known shall serve me. What did Messiah teach? What do we read in Revelation also? I will make them bow before your feet. Yeah, what is that besides serving? Who? All those that never believed? As soon as they hear of me, they obey. The foreigners submit to me. Surely this is not happening now, is it? It's not been my experience that the wicked love the righteous, that the wicked love believers and listen to them. It's only been my experience that at every opportunity, if they can, that they twist something and do not do what you ask. Never. The foreigners fade away and come frightened from their hideouts. Jehovah lives. Blessed be my rock. Let Elohim of my salvation be exalted. It is Elohim who avenges me and subdues the peoples under me. He delivers me from my enemies. You also lift me up from those who rise against me. You have delivered me from the violent man. Therefore I will give thanks to you, Jehovah, among Gentiles, and sing praises to your name. Great deliverance he gives to his king, and shows mercy to his anointed, to David and his descendants forevermore. The Messiah, to his king, to his anointed, of which David was a type of the true anointing that Messiah received, which is the Father's very Spirit to be filled up with the anointing. What is this word? Anointed. Ma.
Strong's H, 4899. Mashiach. Mashiach.
Mashiach. Yes, because if the yud comes after a letter that has the dot, which is for I, it becomes E instead of just I. So if the yud is there, its combination becomes E. Mashiach. Commonly said Mashiach. By people. The priest is anointed. If the priest that is anointed do sin according to the sin of the people, then let him bring for his sin, which he hath sinned, a young bullock without blemish unto Jehovah for a sin offering. The priest that is anointed shall take the bullock's blood and bring it to the tabernacle of the congregation. Now Messiah is that high priest, the high priest of the new covenant. And how do we do these things? That's what we learn to do. But first the natural, then the spiritual. These things are not done physically and outwardly. These things are done in the heart. These things are the invisible things to those that don't see at all. They don't see anything. This is all worthless to them. The adversaries of Jehovah shall be broken to pieces. Out of heaven shall he thunder upon them. Jehovah shall judge the ends of the earth. He shall give strength unto his king and exalt the horn of his anointed. That he did. And everyone before Messiah was a type of Messiah until the true came. Not that Messiah was the creator and in this kind of way prideful, better than everyone, but this is the Father's plan. This is his will. This is what he did. He gave all these things to Messiah. Messiah didn't do any prideful work. This was given. Like the order of Melchizedek, we read, it was just given. He was just chosen. Messiah was chosen, and it was prophesied to be before he was even born. Before the heavens and earth were even created, it was so, for prophecy that the Father knew and planned. We do read that. And the order of Melchizedek was that he was just chosen. There was no lineage, there was no line. It wasn't going to be exactly like the priesthood of Aaron or like with Moses, like through a line. There was no lineage. He's just chosen. It doesn't have to apply because it's according to the priesthood of Melchizedek, like we read. So I think some people, they'll butcher his word, they'll corrupt it because they're trying to fit the prophecy of Messiah literally being able to be chosen because of the laws, because of whatever they're reading elsewhere in scripture saying, oh, this person's a sinner. It can't be that Messiah came from this line. And what they're speaking about is not even remotely true. It doesn't matter. What on earth does that matter? Everyone comes from Adam. There is no one who's not a sinner and corrupt. There's not a single soul that's not corrupt. What does that even mean? Nevertheless, according to the order of Melchizedek, he's chosen. He doesn't need to be from a certain line to be what he is. Why? Because the Father said so. That's pretty much it. Because he said so, because that's what he did and chose to do. Who can say otherwise? We read about the bribe again often. Behold, here I am, witness against me before Jehovah and before his anointed. Whose ox have I taken, or whose ass have I taken? King James, who have I defrauded? Who have I oppressed? Or whose hand have I received any bribe to blind my eyes therewith? And I will restore it to you. I think that's all I have for this one. the true Mashiach, the Messiah. And that doesn't sound good, does it? Like a beast. Man is a beast. Let me grab the actual uh, Bible and literally open up to something and see where it goes. And it came to pass in those days that a decree went out from Caesar Augustus that all the world should be registered. Then this census first took place while Quirinius was governing Syria, so all went to be registered, everyone to his own city. Joseph also went up from Galilee out of the city of Nazareth into Judea to the city of David, which is called Bethlehem, because he was of the house and lineage of David, to be registered with Mary, his betrothed wife, who was with child. So it was that when they were there, the days were completed for her to be delivered, and she brought forth her firstborn son and wrapped him in swaddling clothes and laid him in a manger because there was no room for them in the inn. I guess I'm a little bit behind, I'm about, let's see, what is it, February 5th? A couple months behind. Well, not quite 2 months, over a month behind. This is for Christmas. No, it's not for Christmas. This is the truth. And is this the Creator here being wrapped in swaddling clothes? Now there were in the same country shepherds living out in the fields, keeping watch over their flock by night. What is a believer's duty to do? Keeping watch over their flock by night. And behold, an angel of Jehovah stood before them, and the glory of Jehovah shone around them, and they were greatly afraid. The angel said to them, "Do not be afraid, for behold, I bring you good tidings of great joy, which will be to all people. For there is the Creator born to you this day in the city of David a Savior, who is Messiah, the Master." The Greek word kurios, which makes no distinction because of a corruption that man did, not because the Father's word is corrupt, between Master and the Father's name. There's no distinction in the New Testament. It's all one. The Greek word kurios is used for where the Father's name should be, and for the word that just simply means master. The same Greek word is used for two separate things because man did this through a simple translation thing. This is not proving his word is corrupt, but there is a problem with man and what he does. Because that same Greek word kurios, under this word, if that's how it's pronounced, I think it's kurios or something like that, is wherever we read quotes in the New Testament from where the Father's name is, that it's quoting out of Jehovah from Scripture, it has the same Greek word for it. And for the word that means master, it has the same Greek word for it. This will be a sign to you you will find a babe wrapped in swaddling clothes lying in a manger. And suddenly there was with the angel a multitude of the heavenly host, praising Elohim and saying, Glory to Elohim in the highest, and on earth peace, goodwill toward men. But who believes that's what the Father's plan is? That's who he is. Goodwill toward men, peace. So it was when the angels had gone away from them into heaven that the shepherds said to one another, Let us now go to Bethlehem and see this thing that has come to pass, which, see, that's the thing. If it's not a quote from script from the Old Testament somewhere, it's just the word kurios, translated as Lord to English. So I don't know for sure if is it meant to say master or Jehovah, which Jehovah has made known to us, because his name absolutely should be in the New Testament many times. It should be, but it's not because of what man did. But perhaps it could be master. But we just have kurios, translated as Lord, no matter what. So there's no distinction. Who is it that made this known to them? Isn't it the Creator? And they came with haste and found Mary and Joseph and the babe lying in a manger. Now when they had seen him, they made widely known the saying which was told them concerning this child. And all those who heard it marveled at those things which were told them by the shepherds. But Mary kept all these things and pondered them in her heart. Then the shepherds returned, glorifying and praising Elohim for all the things that they had heard and seen as it was told them. When 8 days were completed for the circumcision of the child, his name was called. Well, here we have another problem with not his word, but with man. But we read Jesus and they capitalize it here. I guess they're trying so hard to be righteous instead of just to actually do what's righteous. The name given by the angel before he was conceived in the womb. So even the name is not even Messiah's own choice, is it? How about what for people? Was it our own choice, whatever someone's name is? That's why someone rebels and changes their name later, because they can never undo what their actual name is given to them, even if they change it. It's a blot. It's like a dark spot. Here it is. Here's the proof. Here's the sin. You can't undo it. It doesn't do anything. You could do that I'll do it my way. It doesn't work. It doesn't matter. That person is still the name that was given to them by their parents, but they're rebelling it, thinking that because the law made some legal change for, so let someone change their name. That's not even the point. Now, when the days of her purification according to the law of Moses were completed, they brought him to Jerusalem to present him to the Lord, as it is written in the law of the Lord, to Jehovah, as it is written in the law of Jehovah. Every male who opens the womb shall be called holy to Jehovah, and to offer a sacrifice according to what is laid in the law of Jehovah, a pair of turtle doves and two young pigeons. Before he had seen Jehovah's Messiah, the Father's anointed, the Lord's Christ, Jehovah's Messiah, the anointed. So he came by the Spirit into the temple, and when the parents brought him the child, Yehoshua, to do for him according to the custom of the law, he took him upon in his arms and blessed Elohim and said, Jehovah, now you are letting your servant depart in peace according to your word, for my eyes have seen your salvation, which you have prepared before the face of all peoples, a light to bring revelation to the Gentiles and the glory of your people Israel. And we read on. Now look at what Messiah says to his own parents. And all who heard him were astonished at his understanding and answers. So when they saw him, they were amazed. And his mother said to him, Son, why have you done this to us? Look, your father and I have sought you anxiously, like parents would do. That's not surprising, to their kid. And he said to them, Why did you seek me? Did you not know that I must be about my father's business? But they did not understand the statement which he spoke to them. Now, when we read this, this is not a lie. This is the Father's word saying they did not understand. That means they literally did not have any clue or understand what those words really meant. What great confusion this is. How could that be true? While also knowing that the Creator impregnated Mary directly through some kind of adultery, and was told by the angel what would be so, that this is the true father and Joseph is not the true father. Don't they know all this? Yet we read they did not understand the statement that he spoke to them, which is, I must be about my father's business. That's really strange that they didn't understand, considering what the church world has said and called truth for what it is. And Messiah and Yehoshua increased in wisdom and stature and in favor, grace with Elohim and men. Voice of one crying in the wilderness, prepare the way. Yes, this is a quote, isn't it? So now we read it's going to say Kurios there for Lord, but we know that's from Scripture. It says Jehovah in there. Prepare the way of Jehovah, but it's going to just say Kurios and make no distinction behind that word Lord there. Make his path straight, every valley shall be filled, and every mountain and hill brought low. He's going to level everything. That's his work. Take all the pride down, and all the humble he lifts up. And every mountain and hill brought low, the crooked places shall be made straight, and the rough ways smooth, and all flesh. Is this a lie? What do they say? This is no lie, and all flesh shall see the salvation of Elohim. I think that's a good place to stop. All right, peace, take care, seek truth from above.